to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. And I'm very excited today because I have two wonderful people that I work with on here, but they're also, I consider them very good friends of mine. And we're all in Australia at the moment. So I have welcome Sarah Watt.
Hello.
And welcome Wesley Pullen.
Hello.
And if you are just listening to us on Spotify, then you can't see their beautiful faces. Don't forget, you can always flip on over to YouTube and you can catch that out because they were just giving you big waves and they're so beautiful people, and, you know, go check it out anyway. So, or you can even follow us on the Choice, Change and Action Instagram as well, because I'm sure we'll have photos of them and little snippets here. So we are talking about a very hot topic. It's a topic that, I think most people at some stage in their life think that they have have thought that they had a problem with it. Some learn to get over it. Some live their entire life thinking that they have a problem with this. Some define their lives by this. Some use it as a source of creation. Some, I guess use it to bitch and moan and be as normal as everybody else, so that you can never, ever be as different as what you truly be. Can anybody guess what the topic is?
Yeah. What are we talking about here?
It's money! So I want to ask you guys a couple of questions first. So Sarah, just give me a little brief synopsis of, I guess when you were growing up, it's like, were you ever taught about money, educated about money? What were you showing about money? What do you remember? I'm going to say 20 below. What do you remember about money growing up?
Okay. We grew up very poor, basically. So my first introduction to money was scarce. There was cool parts about that because we were taught to find fun without having money. So there were cool parts about it where we had to go and, spend a lot of time outdoors, a lot of time in the bush, because we went places, but the places we went were to the beach and to nature and stuff like that. So, but basically to answer your question, we didn't have much. So it was always frustrating. There was always the energy of force and frustration, I want to say. Force is in, if you want it, you got to work really hard to get it. And then it's gone before you know about it. And then frustration because, like you said, everyone lets this topic rule their lives, and all those things you named, it's like you just watch people and how it's either that or they just completely hide from it. It's like it doesn't exist or whatever that energy is as well. So
would you say that you've changed your point of view around money?
Oh, big time. Yeah. And it's still this thing, it still creeps in. It's not like I found.
It's like, oh no, I left the window open. Money's crept in. Money shit's crept in.
For me, it's in the morning when I first wake up for some reason. When I first wake up, I'm like for some reason it's like ding, ding, ding. But the cool thing is when you have tools, you can use the tools. I think, you watch how people are in the world with money. I watched my parents and the people around me as a kid, and I thought that was normal because no one ever expressed that there was a different possibility. And then you find, there's a bunch of tools that you can actually use. So it's not even about it's not about making something right or wrong or completely obliterating it from your world. It's just knowing when this stuff comes up, you've got tools to deal with it, to change it.
And I like the way you said that nobody expressed a different possibility. And I think we've all grown up in families, countries, cultures, etc., that what you were surrounded by, you sort of go, oh, well, this is it. And, that's what you grow up with. That's what you grow up with. And it's like, I remember I remember at a really young age, my parents arguing, and they were yelling at each other and fighting. And my brother and I were like hiding, like in the stairs. We could hear them, and we were like, "Oh no!" And we were like, because they were fighting about money. And I didn't realize till much later. Like, this is a story that my parents told me much later when I was growing up, that they were like what you would say is cash poor. Like, we didn't have cash, but we had equity. So they owned their own house. Like, they had, say, investments, but they didn't have cash. So they were fighting about cash, and they were fighting about the fact that they didn't have this cash flow. Okay. So what my brother and I did was we went downstairs. We lived in this 2-story house, and we went downstairs and we started talking about how we could solve this problem for our parents. And so we went and got our most prized possessions. My brother went and got all of his, I don't know if you had these growing up or whatever, but they were like sports cards of like football teams.
Oh,
so
yeah.
get them in like gum packs and stuff like that. And, some of them were really rare. And, so he had all of his sports cards. And then I had all of my dolls, who in hindsight, I think the dolls are the people that I interacted with and engaged with. And, and we went upstairs, and apparently, they were my friends. And apparently we went upstairs and we said, basically, we hear you, these little kids, we have a money problem, but we will sell our stuff. We will sell our dolls. I'll sell my dolls, and he'll sell his sports cards, like our most prized possession. And apparently our parents said that was the moment that they just went, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, our kids are down, trying to figure out our money problem, and they want to sell this stuff. So I get what occurred was it melted where they were at, and they stopped yelling at each other. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted them to stop yelling at each other. So I was like, if I have to give up my dolls for you to stop yelling about this thing that you seem to be making so friggin' important, then I'll sell my dolls. Which, it's funny because amount of people I've spoken to that seem to have either violence, abuse, like yelling, anger, like all of those energies that come around money. And maybe you grow up with that. And then you start thinking, well, that's what money is. Money's just money, guys. It's just money. So everything that is, and everything that comes up for you right now, even as you're listening to this, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds. Because I'm sure as we're talking, you're going, yeah, how'd I grow up about money? So Wes, you grew up in South Africa, and say, how did you grow up? Did you have money, not have money? What was that for you?
So we had money growing up. I think what you could call us was like, quote unquote, just above middle class, like had everything to be comfortable, but never enough to be like extremely rich or to be considered wealthy, right? So we grew up, went to the private school, had clothes, had food on the table, had the car, had the house. Like, we had everything to be comfortable. But money in my house growing up was always like an argument. And I watched my mother for many years get into a lot of debt with absolutely nothing to show for it. And that was what I learned about money, was getting into a lot of debt. And it was this constant fight of, got to pay the overdraft this month, got to pay this credit card this month, got to pay this clothing account this month. And seeing my mom hustle to pay off these things, but never really create a future for herself. So that was my reality when I grew up.
So isn't it interesting how we sort of start to create our realities based on, I'm going to say our parents. I'm going to draw it down to it's really close, because I get that it is cultural. It is, a big difference of me growing up in Sydney, Australia, Sarah growing up in Queensland, Sunshine Coast, Australia, you growing up in South Africa. It's like there's a big difference there already. And yet I do get that we pick up so many different points of view, basically from our mum and dads. Like, so everywhere that you've decided that your mum and dad knows everything, and that your mum and dad knew everything, and that you should just buy their point of view so that then you can have a point of view about money, riches, wealth, and what that means where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds. So I'm going to ask both of you, it's like, was there a pivotal moment in your life where you sort of went, I don't think this is working for me anymore? Like, and what was that, if you remember something specifically, and what did you do to change it?
Yes. I remember I think I was working my first job in a hair salon as like an apprentice. I'm not sure what you call that in every country, but like an intern or like a trainee, Yeah. So I was doing that. I think I just turned 18 years old. You know, you can get your first credit card, you can get clothing accounts, you can, apply for a loan. And I don't know, I placed so much value on having a credit card. I placed so much value on having a clothing account. I never placed value on actually just having money. It seemed like these were these bright, shiny things that I could finally get now that I'm 18 years old. And I went and fucking blew it. Like, I went and maxed out those clothing accounts. I maxed out the credit cards. I got every loan and overdraft possible. And I remember standing in, I can't remember what store it was, but it was like a clothing store, like a Woolworths or something. And I went to go pay for my clothing account with a credit card. And I was like, okay, wait, there's a problem here because I'm paying for one debt with another debt. I'm literally doing what my mother would do. And that's when I realized you either, like what you just said about like your reality with money, you either fight for your parents' reality with money or you fight against it. And neither of which is your reality. Like, that's not choice. It's fighting for or against. And that was a pivotal moment for me when I was like, oh, my future's being destroyed by this choice.
So you had the awareness that your future was being destroyed. What next? What did you choose next?
That's when I learned how to start managing my money like a grown-up. Like, okay, so you have all these clothing accounts, you have all these credit cards, but this isn't actually money, right? You're going to have to pay this off one day. So I started paying off the debts, and I did pay all that off, and then I got into more debt again, and I learned why I did that again. So it was like this roller coaster of getting into debt, paying it off, getting into debt and paying it off. And then I realized again, oh, you're still doing what your mom does. You're just doing it like long-term now. So then again, I had to realize, okay, the big thing for me is the willingness to have money and actually just have it. And that's where the tools of getting out of debt joyfully started creeping in.
Well, for me too, it's like
very good time.
It's like a rhythm. It's like you have this rhythm of like, you described it as a roller coaster. And so you have this rhythm that you create. So all the rhythms that you have around money, that it's sort of like you're playing this orchestra, I mean, I love it. If you're ever meeting up with friends, family, especially, we've got Christmas time coming up soon. It's like, and you're meeting up with family, people do this thing of, it's almost like being in competition of, oh, Dios mío, money problem, So someone starts talking about, oh, I've got all these debts, I've got this, I've got that, all these unexpected bills. And the next person goes, oh, I know what you're talking about. And then goes on to it. And it's like you're playing the same, this at the same cadence as everybody else. So everywhere that
it's like, who can have the worst problem?
Yeah. And it's like, what if you were the one that went, you know what? I'm good. I don't have a money problem. I'm good. So everywhere that you've decided you have to play this as the same cadence as everybody else so you can avoid what you could be with money, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. So Sarah, what about you? Do you have anything in your life that you can think of that has that pivotal for you?
Yeah. And first of all, like, because I've heard you say you don't need to have a money problem. No one has a money problem. But I think I'm just realizing as well, like, that's not based on how much money you have. Like, you can have zero money and not have a money problem too. Like, so many people, like, to not have a problem with money, I need to have all my debts paid off, own everything that I have, this much money in the bank. But not having a money problem means no matter what situation you're in, you just don't have a problem with it. And that's where the tools start to become so effective, because you can use question and blah, blah, blah. So it just sort of dawned on me a little bit then. But from a young age,
can I just say thank you for that awareness, because I can perceive the energy when I say no one needs to have a money problem, and I can feel when people get pissed off. And it's like, I say it because I like when it puts them. Yeah, but I even had a conversation with someone yesterday, and they've been sort of that messages back and forth, and they actually did, purchase the Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, online course. And I said, hey, and I'll just put a little link down here actually at the moment too. And I'm not doing, I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but heck, it's like these tools friggin' work. So you can go to SimoneMilasas.com/action, and it's there. And it's an online course that you can do based on my book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, that you can do at your own pace, right? But one of the things that she was leaving me a message about is the situation she's created with money. And I said to her yesterday, I said, I don't know what the situation is. She wants to talk to me, but I said, the one thing I can tell you, it's not as bad as you think it is. And it's like, and are you happy right now? And it's like, it's your point of view. You can create it to be shit, or you can create it to be great. So thank you for mentioning that, Sarah. I think it's a really key piece that people need to get.
Yeah. And also the person leaving you the messages right there, they say the situation I've created. Well, if you created the situation, you can create a different one, right? Like, it's just also that. But I mean, the thing I wanted to say was, actually from a young age, and I see kids like, and, you know, we've spoken a lot about this and you've mentioned this a lot as well, because kids don't know yet about the importance of money and all the stuff that comes along with it. Like, as a kid, I would find money everywhere. And I'm not talking like a couple of dollars. I'd find $300 on the ground. I found a wallet floating in the ocean once with $500 cash in it. Like, money would just, it was just like this thing of like, it was always there. It was always around. And then, you know, you do the whole thing where you reach that age of like, oh, all the people around me are choosing this. So, you know, you go through that process of starting to do that. Well, at least I did. But I do remember one very specific moment that I was on a call with you. I was walking through a city somewhere and listening to a call, and it was a money call or business. And you talked about having your own financial reality. And this was before I even knew about having your own reality full stop, like that you could actually seriously have a reality completely different to anyone else, just based on what brings you joy, what you see your future as being, what you see the world as. Like, that was still a concept to come. But the first thing I heard was you saying you can have your own financial reality. And that was like a huge crack in my my reality with money and finances. And that's when I started playing with like, oh, okay, so if that is possible, what would I like that to look like? Because I had no idea. Like, I just had no idea, number one, that you could have that. And number two, if you could have that, what would it be like for me? So yeah, I would invite people to start looking at that. Like, if you could throw it all in the bin, everything you'd learned so far, and bring back the things that are actually contributing to you, what would your financial reality be? What would your reality with money, wealth, possessions, like all that sort of stuff, what would that be for you? Yeah.
So what did you get to? Like, what do you have an idea of what it is you would like your financial reality to be? I know you've changed a lot over the years using access consciousness tools, but where are you at now, and what would you like it to be?
Right now, and it changes, you know, like this whole journey that I'm on in my life is such a journey. It's a meandering path. I've heard Dane talk about it, and it sits so well with me, because I've got to also be really comfortable in things never staying the same for very long. Like, I think I figure something out, or I get to a good place with something, and then a whole level of and layer of change becomes available. So right now in this 10, I would say allowing the universe to, like, not trying to control things so much, like not having to. At a young age, I would sit there and do budgets and spreadsheets, and this is how much money I've got coming in, and this is where it needs to go. And I think having a financial awareness is hugely important, but also having a huge level of trust in whatever that is for you. Like, we went for a run before in the bush, and I was thinking, like, because, you know, a lot of people have God or a religion or something like that. And I was like, you know, like, it is kind of a cool concept in a way, like to have this thing where you can almost just like let go of things. And you know, we were talking yesterday as well, Simone, about just letting the universe like have your back on things. And so for finances, sorry, to answer your question, it would be having joy and that thing of not having a problem, like just wherever I'm at right now, what if I could just have joy with that? And then number two, allowing the universe to do its thing, I want to say. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you said that and you went for a run in the bush too. I just went for a walk, and the trees are just so amazing here. And there was this moment that I was near this beautiful tree, and it was a really pale white tree in amongst all these, you know, sort of brown trees. And I just went up and I was touching it, and I just put my hands on it. And there was I always find this interesting. There was this moment that I went, what happens if someone walks by and I'm just got my hands up against this tree, and it's like, you know, I'm going to look like I'm, you know, whatever. And then I went, what the fuck, why would I care?
Who cares?
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I sat there with my hands on this tree and I was like, okay, what can I receive from you? And looked at all the other trees. And there was just this sense of peace, nothing solid, nothing significant, nothing meaningful, just what else can I receive? And I noticed the energy that you were talking about as a kid when you found this wallet and you'd find all this money and that's a level of receiving that I get, we come in with, and then they sort of get snapped out of us when we learn about judgment, and judgment is not real. And then we also start looking at other people as a reference, like what happens if someone walks down here and finds me just hanging onto this tree? Who gives a shit? So it's like everywhere that you've been looking at other people, your families especially, as a reference to how you choose and how you receive. Were you destroying that? Right, wrong, good and bad, hook and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, pirates, and beyonds.
Yeah. And there's an abundance in nature, right? Like you're out there and it doesn't need money, like it doesn't need any of that stuff, but there's such a rich vitality and abundance there that, like, I think we somehow exclude that when money comes up. It's like all of that kind of goes away because money is this very linear and real thing. But yeah, like to have those things that you find the most joy in, most of them, not most of them, but there's a lot for me that you need $0 for. Like it's
and you need $0, and then there's a whole lot more where I use that as a justification for not having money, because I would go, well, see, I don't need money.
Totally.
You don't need money. It's true.
Yes.
But you know what? It's a hell of a lot more fun having money. So yeah. Man, I just had to laugh at the nature this morning. It was 4:20 a.m. and the kookaburras were literally outside laughing. And I was like, God, it's like they're just laughing. And then they stopped. And then my green frogs started. And I went, okay, I get it. I'm getting up.
Time to get up.
I'm just getting up. Okay.
We're awake.
Exactly.
All right, guys.
So Wes, is there any like that, any of the tools or anything that you've used to change? Like, where are you at now? Where are you? Because I've known you for a long time too, and I've also known you like with finances and money, etc. We had this great conversation one day where you were freaking out and rang me about taxes, and I went, "Where's it's just tax? It's just money."
Yeah, that's one of the best things that. That was actually one of the first times I actually really heard it. When I was like in this panic, and you just came at me like fully relaxed. And you were like, it's just money. And for like a little split second, I was like, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, I know it's just, and then I was like, oh, wait, actually, I get it now. It's just money. And I know my reality, money will always come. The money always comes. No amount of panic has ever gotten me the amount of money I needed in my life. So I can stop panicking. Yeah,
that's really good. I love that. No amount of panic. Like, go on, panic. If we all start panicking, more money will show up. It doesn't work like that. If we all start judging, more money will show up. It doesn't work like that. If we get frustrated and bitch and moan about it, more money will show up. No, it doesn't. So, and I love that you mentioned the word joy and that energy of joy. So let's do this. What are you avoiding? What energy are you avoiding by not choosing to have an ease with money? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, hock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. So I know we've mentioned the online course I have, which is Wes helped me. He came up here and I had the amazing Alison as well. She was our director and put this whole course together. There was a whole lot of people from my amazing, we call ourselves a conglomeration of idiots. Because we're not a team, we're a conglomeration of idiots, happy idiots, just heading in the same direction. And we put this together because it's been a constant place that people have, I come across people who think that they have a money problem. And so hence, I mean, I was $187,000 in debt at one stage, and just, I've been through all those different phases of ignoring it, hating it, avoiding it, everything. And I have money now, and I still have stuff that comes up about money too. Like, it's like stage that there's there's this ease with money, and then you go, oh, I've got a certain amount of money in the bank account, it's fine. No, then there's other stuff that shows up too. But how are you going to handle it? So I do have my book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, which I'm holding up on the screen now. If you're on Spotify, you can't see it obviously, but you can see it on YouTube. You can go to SimoneMilasas.com/action. And you can get that online course. Like I said, do it at your own pace. There's a Telegram thread that you can join, which I'm really bad at going in, but you know what? There's other people who go in it, and I'll go in it every now and then. We might do a little surprise money call for everybody who is in that Telegram thread around Christmas time. I'm also going to recommend, now I am holding these up, but I'm going to talk about them if you're listening, is a book called Right Riches for You. And this is written by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. And you can see I've already got like notes and stuff in there. This is brilliant. And it really talks about a lot, the difference between the creation of money and then this generative energy. And that's what I get the three of us have been talking about too, is that generative energy of ease and joy is what actually contributes to something greater, far beyond than what you can actually work out. The second book I have here is called the How to Become Money Workbook. And you can get all of these on, Booktopia if you're in Australia, Amazon, etc. And you can also get them on accessconsciousness.com. But this is the How to Become Money Workbook, which changed so much for me because there's all these questions in here that you can answer. And like one of them, for example, was, what is money feel like, smell like to you? And I was doing business in India for so long, and I was like, it's dirty, because I would play with these rupees, like, hundreds and hundreds of rupee notes. And I realized that was my point of view. And the three of us have been mentioning, if you have a point of view about money, that's what you're going to create as your reality. So what if you could change your point of view? Then there's also the Advanced How to Become Money Workbook, which, do after the first one. So, and there's another one also, which I don't have on me, but it's called Money's Not the Problem, You Are. And that book literally changed my financial reality. That was the opening for me to open a door for me that I had slammed shut, and start to have a look at using the Access Consciousness tools with money. So, and I talk about that a lot in Getting Out of Debt Joyfully as well. So I want to ask both of you, if you have one or two tools or whatever it is that you want to leave with here, what would you leave the listeners with that they could take away today and start to use in regards to money?
I would say get clear on your current situation. Like, this is something you've taught me, like figure out what it costs to live your life, and get as specific as it works for you. Some people need to know right down to the cent. Some people it's like, I'll get an idea of what that is. And then from there, look at what you would like to create for the future. And for me, like money is for me, it's like a combination of two things. There's like the pragmatics of it. So having that awareness of what it costs to live your life, the awareness of your income as it is per month or whatever. And then from that, you can start infusing some of these other tools in, and the magic of like asking for something different to show up and having this question in your world of like, what else is possible? So I would say get clear, figure out what it costs to run your life and your income, and then choose a couple of tools, grab one of those books and pick two, and play with it on the basis of having that, the practical side of it. And realize in a month's time or 2 months' time, look at it and look at like what has changed for me in that time, what's changed in my financial reality, and what is my point of view about money now?
Yeah, good questions. And we have a lot of that information, the pragmatics of the tools of how to, look at what it costs to run your life and what your income is, because most people are oblivious to that. They really are. And I chose to be oblivious to that for so friggin' long. And again, panicking doesn't get you anywhere. Being oblivious doesn't get you anywhere. So that is in the Getting Out of Debt Joyfully online course, and it's also in the book as well. So yeah, thank you. Wes?
Yeah, it definitely, everything that Sarah said, plus just knowing that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like if you start getting clear on your finances, asking yourself what you'd like your future to be, if you commit to that and you choose it every day and create that as like an available reality for you, you will continue to strive towards it with your choices, like just organically. And secondly, like what Sarah says, like pick a tool and use that tool. You don't have to drown yourself in all the money tools all at once. Like pick one, have fun with it, use and abuse the shit out of that tool and have fun with it. Like, for example, I took the 10% account. That was a really hard one for me. And I want to say, quote unquote, started to master that tool.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the next one. Yeah.
I love that because, you know, the class that I chose, you know, to start using the tools, Gary and Dane had this huge amount of tools. And like I said, they're all in the Money Isn't the Problem You Are book. And I picked 3. And I picked 3 tools. And that's what I started with because I didn't also want to overwhelm myself. And to be honest, I was not excited about it. I was not like, yay, I can use these money tools and I can start to have money. But I knew I needed to change my point of view. And that's what I was very strongly knew that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the piece that nobody can make you do anything. Have you noticed? It's like you have to be the one that wakes up in the morning and says, you know what? I'm going to take some action. I'm going to start to use these tools. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be something different with money. And it starts today, not tomorrow. This is not the diet you start tomorrow. This is the action today. Yeah. And it's your choice. You can be the one complaining, you know, about money and be the one leading that party, or you can be the one that stands in the room and says, I don't have a money problem. I'm good. It's your choice.
Yeah.
So Wes, Sarah, thank you so much for joining me here today. You guys are just phenomenal. I adore you both. And if you want to find out more about Wes and Sarah, and we will have all of their details on Instagram, follow them on Instagram as well, and all of their stuff and their classes that they have coming up. They're both Access Consciousness facilitators. They're both Joy Business facilitators as well. And that'll all be in the show notes. So don't forget to subscribe to the show notes. And please share this with your friends because I would like the whole world to know that there's a different possibility. You have to choose it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thanks, Wes. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.